Welcome to Birkenwasser Knits episode 13. I'm Katriine Birkenwasser, and in this episode I'm going to talk about the Tour de sock knitting competition, and I'll try not to repeat everything I said in episode 5 when I talked about the first two pairs of the competition and also about the competition in general. So it was the Plan A socks by Adrian Fong and Odenschön socks by Susan Sjögren that I was talking about at that time. And I think I already also showed you pair number 3, which is the Bicycle Race by Kirsten Hall, but I didn't have that finished yet. So I'm gonna talk about these ones now, and also then pair number 4. This was the Arctic Blizzard sock. This was my design, and this I talked about in episode 6, so I'm trying not to repeat that either. But then I have pair number 5 and pair number 6 that I'm gonna talk about in this episode. So thanks for tuning in, and let's start with pair number 3. So this is the Bicycle Race by Heidi Nick. I used, what yarn did I use for this? This is Socks Yeah by Cook Knits, and it's a lovely dark green. And this sock doesn't really look so good on a blocker, so let's take a closer look. I'll put them on my model and then I can show you better what they look like. So this is the front of the Bicycle Race socks. As you can see, there's this really fancy cable pattern. It's actually mirrored, so when you look from the top you can see then the same pattern repeat here at the toes. And there were different options for how you want to make the toes, but I like the idea that it mirrors what's on the cuff. It's then the same ripping for the toes. And there are beads. Can you see the beads? They're so small that it's maybe difficult to see, but they are all there. This pair I think I tried to finish on time, so they should be really according to the pattern, but I think I was late, so then I didn't want to finish them on time so bad to work all night, and that's why I think I didn't get any points for this round, but they are, at least the socks are according to the pattern. And here's the back of the legs, and as you can see there's a different cable pattern and beads pattern for the back of the legs, so you had to look at 2 charts while knitting the legs, one for the front cables and the other one for the back. But it's a nice effect, and as you can see well, you can't see now. Now I'm trying to focus on the heels. Maybe I can move the leg of my model, who is struggling here to accommodate my wishes with the sock photography. So you can see there's the pattern that continues also up to the heel before turning the heel, and then just the sole of the sock is a normal sock, so that was a little bit of relaxing knitting, but other than that it's a pretty complicated sock, but it's a really pretty sock. I don't know if I can turn my model here so you can see the sock. No, I can't turn her. Okay, so now I have a better position where you can also see the gusset of the sock, and as you can see, the reason why I didn't want to show the socks on the blockers was that actually from the side you can't really see the fancy cables. They look so much better on the top. So now turn so we can see the top, like that. And that's the really pretty part. So this was the sock
number 3, Bicycle Race by Heidi Nick.
So that was pair 3. And then, yeah, as I mentioned, number 4 was my Arctic Blizzard sock. And yeah, there are really amazing blizzard socks that were made during the Tour de Sock competition and also after that. So please check out the Ravelry pages and the project for the socks. You can see some really amazing snowflakes there. But let's not talk more about the snowflakes at this point. Let's move on to, yeah, I'm checking my notes at the same time so I don't forget. This is the sock number 5, and it's the Flibbertigibbet by Liza K. Ross. And this one is a combination of cables and lace, sort of. And maybe it's better if I take a close-up of these as well so you can see them better. So here's the Flibbertigibbet socks, and what was new for me when knitting these socks was this scalloped cast on. So there's this scallop edge on the ribbing. So these socks are knitted from the top down, so, or from the cuff, starting from the cuff, going towards the toes, and you start with this scalloped cast on, and then just work this cable lace panel until the heel. And then the gusset is here at the bottom of the sole, so similar to the first round, and I think it was also option for the second round, so a lot of riverbed gussets on this year's Tour de Sock. And then just continuing with the lace and cables on top of the foot and just a plain sock on the sole. So yeah, it's a really, I think the yarn that I'm using is Garns or Soke Merino, so it's a pink sock that I thought would go well with the cables and lace and still show the cables and the lace pattern nicely. But yeah, let's see who's going to get this pair of socks. Okay, and so that was the 5th pair, and then the 6th, the final stage of the competition was this Sidetracked Socks by Kirsten Hall. And this is a little bit unusual construction for a sock. I think I showed you when I was working on this, I already explained a little bit about that, but yeah, maybe it's easier also for this one to take a closer look so you can see how the construction actually goes. But the yarn that I used for this, this is the variegated yarn that I used for the band that goes around. This is Garnsur's merino sock that I bought at Oslo Strikkefestival a year ago. Unfortunately, there was no Oslo Strikkefestival this fall, but let's hope that there will be one again next year. Yeah, and then I used a grey yarn that was Svarta Fåret Frost. Yeah, was the one that I used for the CC. But let's take a closer look at these as well. So this is the Sidetracked socks, and as you can see, the socks are mirrored. So you start from, these are knitted toe up, and you start with the contrasting color toe, and then you can see how you start building this chevron band, and then you just work that band around the sock until you reach the heel, or where you want to begin the heel, and then you just need to change the direction as you're working around, and you kind of leave the this band on hold, and then just pick up stitches or
yeah, you have slip stitches on hold waiting, so you just use those and then add some extra stitches for working the heel, and then the heel is worked with shadow wraps and some short rows for the just for this bit, the wedge here, and then what happens is that you decrease those extra stitches and then continue with the band around. It goes only twice around the ankle at this point. But yeah, here's the thing that you also need to look at. So this part, it's on this previous wraps or whatever the band, when the band goes around, this is the center double decrease that creates this effect. And as you can see, it's missing from this one, so you don't have that before the heel. But I guess the designer wanted to have it anyway here before the cuff ribbing. So you need to add a wickel braid just before finishing the bands and before starting the cuff. So there's a wickel braid, and of course for the second sock, when it's reversed, then it means that you need to do that on the purl side. So that's something that I also used in my alignment sweater, but I didn't have. There you don't have to do this much of purl side wickel braid, but now I think I also, when I was working the alignment sweater, I used a cable needle to help with the wickel braid, but now I think I figured out how to do it also without the cable needle when you need to do so much. So actually the wickel braid also continues here, so you have for this as the band continues across the cuff, then also the on the other side it's the center double decrease, and on the other side is the wickel braid. They also continue on both sides of the chevron band. Then I noticed after I finished these socks last night, so they have been on my knitting table for quite some time. When I realized that I won't be able to finish them on time for the competition, I just thought I'd work on something else, and then maybe at some point I would finish these. And well, that point was yesterday. For the last couple of evenings I've been working on these socks, but of course it had been so long since I finished the first one that I forgot that there's actually a little ribbing here at the end of the cuff. Also, this chevron band has a ribbing, and that's missing from this sock, as I had forgotten about that. And of course I was too lazy to read the instructions again, so I just counted how many rows I have of the ribbing and worked the cuffs to the same length, and only afterwards noticed that there's a ribbing, and no, there isn't. But I'm guessing no one will ever notice, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with these socks anyway, but I don't think it's such a big mistake that I couldn't just give these socks to someone. Actually, I was aiming for there's on October 17th is the night of the homeless, and they always collect woolly socks for homeless people, so I was actually planning on giving some extra pairs of socks for that purpose, but yeah, I didn't finish these on time for that, so that will have to wait until maybe next year, or maybe they do have this sock collection thing, I think, ongoing, so maybe I'll just run to the local shelter and give maybe these socks or maybe something else. Anyways, but that was Sidetracked Socks by Kirsten Hall. And here are all my 6 pairs of socks. So I finally finished all of them, but I did not finish all of them on time, and actually I just checked that I only got points for the first 2 rounds. So these ones I finished on time, got 1 point for both rounds, and in the overall standings I ended up 554th out of 628 knitters. So not very good competition-wise, but of course I wouldn't have been able to get any points for my own design. So then I just thought that this year was more of just for the fun of joining and knitting and just trying new things. And yeah, it was a really fun competition, and let's see what happens next year if I'll be participating. I seem to say every year after the competition that never again, I'm never going to spend this much time knitting socks, but it's always so much fun that then I notice afterwards that here I am knitting again. So let's see, maybe next summer you will see me knitting tortoise socks again. So I had all 6 pairs done, and we actually, after the competition, we had a meeting with the knitters here in Helsinki who had participated in Tour de Socks. So we met and took some pictures of all our socks, and actually I only had one sock of the 6th pair, but since we took the pictures so that there was only one sock of each pair, then I could have my socks also in the pictures. So let's have a look at those pictures, and I took a little video also of all the socks that we made together. So that's a lot of socks and really pretty socks, and you could see how I think the Finnish knitters somehow had this color scheme that was really matching, so the socks looked really good together. And it was really nice to meet other knitters. I think I hadn't met anyone of that group before, so it was really nice to make some new friends, and we had a lovely afternoon with some knitting and chatting. Yeah, but as I mentioned in episode 5, when I first talked about Tour de Sock, there was a theme for this year's Tour de Sock, or there's always a theme, but this year's theme was Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And I think I showed you this book that I got from the library. I have the book in English, but I wanted to read it with my son, so I got the translated book, so this one is in Finnish. And we've been reading it ever since before the Tour de Sock even started, but we're only halfway through, so I think we're still reading the second book, or is it maybe the third one? Excuse me, I caught a cold during the autumn holiday, which was actually, we were in a warm place. We went to Cyprus that was the first time for me in Cyprus, and a lovely holiday with swimming and a lot of sun, and actually almost no knitting since it was too hot to knit, but also I managed to catch a cold because it was so warm. Okay, anyway, so we're reading Life, Universe and everything, I think, and I'm trying to translate back to English. And yeah, I think it's the third book, so we still have a lot of reading to do, but I love reading this with my son. Yeah, it's the third book. We're reading the third one now, and there are 2 more left, so yeah. But it's a really nice book to read with. My son is 9 years old, and I think he gets some of the irony in the book, and it's nice when there's a funny part, and I think that maybe he doesn't get it, but he starts laughing immediately. So it's our mom-son thing, and yeah. Of course, now that all this sock knitting is done, I have plenty of other projects that I'm working on.
And actually one that I can show you is here, and I haven't even really gotten started with this one, but it's this yarn. This is Primrose Yarn Sophia, and I bought this already a year ago, and I knew I wanted to make a sweater, but I didn't know what kind of a sweater I would make with a variegated yarn like this. So I wanted a pattern that would work with the variegated yarn, and I didn't know what that pattern would be. But now that I made these Sidetracked Socks, and I think it's really genius the way the variegated yarn works with this chevron band. And that just gave me the idea that I would also design a sweater that would have something similar, some chevron type of a pattern that would then show this shades of this variegated yarn. So that's something that I'll be working on as soon as I get all of these other projects out of the way. But let's have a closer look of some of the whips that I'm working on at the moment. And this is a project that I actually started already about a year ago, and for some reason I just I think I got to about the part where I'm starting to fade from the first color, and for some reason I had to put it down, and then I guess I just forgot about it. Maybe it's a wool alpaca turtleneck sweater, so maybe the spring and summertime didn't feel like the time to knit this one. But now I've picked it up again, and I'm going now. Oops! No, I think I dropped some stitches, but that's okay. So I have divided for the sleeves, and I'm working on the body, and for this one I'm using in a way a marled fade, as I'm working with 2 strands at a time. So I have this Isager Alpaca 1 lace weight alpaca, and then I have Isager's Spinni yarn. This is a lace weight wool. So I'm holding 2 strands together. I think, yeah, this one I'm already past. So this is a lighter shade of the alpaca, and now I'm working with this green one, and I'm fading from a light gray to, I think, a light brown. So yeah, so how I'm doing this is that as I'm working with 2 strands at a time, I'm then also fading with first 1 strand. So I think here the first fade is from the Spinni, so from white to gray, or I think maybe it's light gray to medium gray, and then once that fade is done, then I'm fading the alpaca yarn, so from the white alpaca to, yeah, I think this light brown alpaca, and then I'm already here. I've started, I faded from the light brown to the greenish alpaca, and yeah, also this gray to brown. So this is where I'm at now, and I'm gonna continue now with the brown, and then I have a darker gray that's coming next for the last wool color, and for the alpaca I have a black to finish the project with. So that's a little bit different fade, but it's also going in the faded collection that I'm working on at the moment. So really excited to see how this works out. And this the idea for this project actually came from the little leftovers that I had worked several Helga Isager's patterns were using either Spinni and Alpaca 1 held together, and I thought that, okay, I have all these leftovers, and how about I do just a marled fade of all of them. So that was the idea for
for this sweater, and I think it's looking pretty good. It's working out the way I imagined. So I'll just need to finish this one. It's actually, since I'm continuing with the cables even on the putty section, then it means I can't do this or work on this while I'm reading, and that of course means that there's less time for me to knit, because I find it really hard to just sit and knit. I need to be reading at the same time to feel that I'm getting something done. So that's why always when it means that I need to concentrate on what I'm knitting, then it slows down the project. But yeah, eventually this is also going to be finished. I guess I'm maybe almost halfway done. And this was also my project that I took with me on a holiday when I didn't really knit much, but it seems that I managed to spill coffee on the sweater, so I'm hoping these coffee stains will come off when I block it or soak it for the blocking, because otherwise it's gonna be not so nice to have a little stain on the sweater before it's even finished, but let's hope it comes off. So I think that's about it for this time. Maybe one more thing, if you are wondering about this cardigan that I'm wearing. This is my own design. It's called There Will Be Time, and it has this short row panels in the front, so just a bit of this way, that way, short row stripes and contrasting sleeves, and then it's just basic garter stitch on the back. It's a really comfortable cardigan, and the yarn I used is tuku wool, so one of my favorite yarns. It's a really lovely cardigan, so check it out also on Ravelry if you like it. But that's all for this time, and thanks for joining in. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and next week I'll introduce you to my model whose legs you already saw. So next week I'll show you what I knitted for her birthday last summer, and you can see her and her new sweater. So see you next week. Thanks for watching.
Toki kaikki ei osallistunut kisaan, että se ei ollut mitenkään pakollisena pääsyvaatimuksena.
Täällä me heitettiin ulos.
Niin, kyllä joo. Mä olin tuossa poliisin ihan.
Näytä sukat.
Jos sä oot monet ikkunan takaa. Anteeksi. Mä otan ne, jotka jää viime.